Now, I still see a lot of people standing, but I do see a couple of empty seats.
One here.
You high school kids,
There's one here.
Your bodies are limber.
We're not.
And I think just the fact that you're here and you want to really be here for the moment, why don't y'all just come up front, and if you don't mind sitting on the floor, are you okay with that? Because I would do it. In fact, I'd probably join you while our speakers are speaking. And I'm thrilled to have you all here. And we're going to be introducing some really unique and special students before we get to our candidates. Thank you. Good. Yeah. And then guess what? You're going to be standing up in a minute. But that's okay, because now y'all have your territory. If there's anyone out in the foyer and you still want to come in, there still is room, so come on in. And Mary, are you going to be joining us? You're going to bring a petition for this evening that you'd asked if I would like to pass around. You don't? For someone to sign?
I just got a flyer for people to call their councilman.
This is Mary Humble, and active in the community. She likes to keep a very low profile, but she has a big voice. And what she's passing around is a map for the projected RTRP. For those of you who aren't certain what that is, that's the Riverside Reliability, what is it, transmission?
Grid reliability.
Go ahead, Barbara, big and loud and clear.
Those ugly things.
Riverside Transmission Reliability Project.
And as Susanna Hernandez said, that really ugly projected thing.
Yes. 7-story
But
house.
we should be hearing a little bit about why it's good and why it's not, perhaps this evening. If not, certainly watch your emails. And so, is there anyone here who didn't get the map who would like to have it? If you do, please raise your hand so Mary can bring it to you. Okay, I see a hand in the back. Once Mary reaches the back of the room, we're going to be ready to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, but I didn't want to start that until we all look like we were in our places and comfortable. So if you would stand. The flag, for those of you who can't see it, left side of the room facing forward on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I officially welcome you, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sharon Matea. I'm the chairperson for RRR, and that's the group you're at tonight. So if you walked in the wrong door, the ice skating ring's next door. RRR started 10 years ago, and we actually started because we had some controversy in our own community that involved politics. And 2 of us got together and decided we'd start a group, and today it's really grown into a wonderful group, and I welcome all of you here this evening. We have people who make the phone calls, and by the way, if anyone here is this evening and you want to receive messages regarding what's happening in the community, what's happening with RRR, when you signed in, if you gave your email, you will get information. If you didn't get the email with our ladies, you're not going to hear anything unless you hear from your neighbors. We have a wonderful group of volunteers, and that's how most people get reminded of the meeting. People know it's coming up, but it's so easy to forget it the night before or even the morning of. And I need to thank these callers. We have Judy Nichols, Ann Alfaro, Paulette Chapman, Anna Moore, Sue Striplin, Jerry Lyle, Sophia Diaz, Liz Baker, Nancy Treen, Robin Von Coy, and Cheryl Harden, Little Pam, for these wonderful ladies. And most of you did pass by our sign-in table and did sign in, because if you didn't sign in, you didn't get a ticket for the raffle. And if you see our table tonight, we have a lot of raffles. And so there we have our sister team of Robin and Leslie, and thank you both. was supposed to be a big bag up here for me, which I don't see, so you're going to take this one on trust. Our volunteer at the police department, John Walker, he is retired LAPD, and now he volunteers the community, and he's been a fabulous asset to RRR because he's the reason we get to come in the room early, have things prepared, and he's never missed a meeting. We decided it was time to clean up our neighborhood again, and he started the initiative this time. All those yard sale signs and I've lost this and I want that, and people post them on all the poles and then they leave them there. He has been walking when he does his morning walk and removing them all. He has a garbage bag filled to the top. So 2 years ago we did this, and we did a wonderful wine tasting at my house. And we really had some wonderful varietals. We had a good selection, and we also have non-alcoholic. No cost to members. Admittance fee was a bag of trash that you picked up in the community. And boy, did we get it. Now, Anna Alfaro here calls me a month after the wine tasting and says, "When's the wine tasting?" She had 2 to 3 big, dark trash bags filled with them. And I said, "You know, you deserve your own." And I brought Anne her own bottle of wine. So, poor Anne. So start collecting this trash. Have your email so I can read it. And I'll let you know when we're going to do another incredible wine tasting. And we have some pretty darn good stuff. La Sierra High School students are represented here tonight, which I think is fabulous because I don't know how many community meetings really have their high school kids attending. So we have 3 groups. Now I know you sat down, you stood up. Stand up one more time so everyone can see you. And how many? These students belong to multiple groups, but I'm going to read the 3 groups represented here tonight. We have a political awareness group here, and the name of their group is Students' Rights and Community Awareness. I love their slogan, their motto, their theme. To inform is to reform. Congratulations on picking a great name and a good... Oh, and right now their political awareness group, they want to grow into a political action group. So they're thrilled at the candidates here this evening. Then we have the second group. It's called The Leading Ladies. The purpose for that group is to bring awareness to the role of women in the 21st century. And then we have Posse. Stacy Collins, you're here somewhere, raise your hand. Okay, Stacy is the amazing, wonderful lady who brought these women and invited them because did you organize the Posse? Or she organized a group, Posse. It's called Parent Organizations Supporting Student Excellence. Here's what makes that group different than PTA. PTA is parents and generally staff from the schools. This is a group that's put together and organized students as well as parents coming together for a better community. So thank you all for being here. And everyone who brought the snacks tonight, thank you, you're amazing. We also have 2 special gift baskets here brought by, and I believe, Javier, where are you? You're Ward 1, aren't you? Well, isn't that wonderful that we have people from other wards attending tonight. And Javier and his wife owned a business by the mission in years back called Biocorium. Fabulous, wonderful products. Javier is a chemist, and not a chemist. You were a chemistry major, but you're a pharmacist, and his wife esthetician. And so she put these 2 baskets together. The flashing light with the pumpkin has wonderful items in there, but it has their special Biocorium skincare product made with pumpkin for women. The black one to the right of it has similar items, but it has skincare for men. So whoever's lucky enough to draw a ticket, remember those baskets. And thank you, Javier and Vivian, for contributing tonight. If you signed it and you didn't get a raffle ticket, you better go get one because we've got good prizes. We have, I always bring wine, and then I realize not everybody drinks wine, and y'all get left out if you happen to win that. So, we have a special tin for someone who wants to win wine. We have a tin for someone who wants sparkling cider, and we have no tin for winers, so hold on those tickets. So when we're ready to do that, our drawing, I'll let you know, get the tickets out. We make it easy. I read the last three numbers because the rest are all the same. Brad Smith. Just raise your hand, Brad. Brad is live streaming this tonight. So I made the announcement on Nextdoor so that people are going to be able to watch this live, and perhaps they're watching it right now. He is also, we were going to get this up on YouTube, but we're having a little problems with internet tonight in the building. So unfortunately, that won't happen. But I have a question, can we do the live stream and convert it over to video?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay, so we're going to make this happen because I told the candidates we were, and so we have to do that. Boards and commissions, I told Colleen Nickel, our city clerk, I was going to remind you all there's openings. Ward 6, Ward 7, boards and commissions. We have Nancy Hart, prior city council person, is nodding her head. The Treens have been on these. In fact, there's a lot of people in this room that have been on these boards and commissions in the past. But a new one's opened and it's closing October 31st. If you want to be part of the charter review that's coming up, and Jason is 2020, isn't it?
19.
2019? But then it becomes initiated in 2020?
Yes.
Okay, so the review committee for the charter review, they're looking for applicants. You can go online if you're interested, and it's really simple. www.riverside, I wanted to do it without looking. Okay, riversideca.gov/city clerk. If you're interested, and I have your email, I'm going to put out an email and I'll give that information, but some of you may not have that, so I wanted to make that announcement tonight. And what are we all really here for tonight is to meet our candidates. So all the housekeeping stuff, I've pretty much eliminated it except for these important announcements because we want to get right to the candidates. Represented tonight is going to be State Assembly District 60, County Supervisor District 2, County Sheriff, and then our L Board trustees. So we have a number of candidates this evening, and we're going to have some time limitations set. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to introduce themselves. After their 2-minute introduction, we'll have time for at least 1 or 2 questions for the candidates. If whoever asks the question can keep the question short, to the point, and the candidates can take 30 seconds to 45 seconds to answer it, if it's an easy question, we might get 4 or 5 questions. So it's going to be all up to you to monitor yourself because we're only going to have their 4 to 5 minutes to answer. And then after they've answered the last question, they'll have a minute to have a closing for maybe something they didn't remember saying or that they'd like to close with for their message. Our timer tonight is Barbara Kernquist, and just kind of raise your hand because as the timer, Barbara probably has the hardest job in the room tonight. She's got yellow and red as she held up. The yellow candidates, when you see it, it means you have 20 seconds left. When you see the red, obviously it means stop, but don't stop in the middle of your sentence. Finish your sentence. However, don't finish a paragraph. Just the sentence. We've had that. I want to make certain that I've kind of set the tone for what we're doing. So when we begin, everyone's going to be ready. We do have a second microphone for questions. It's in the corner over here. I can do this one of two ways, and we're gonna do it by vote. We can have you walk up to that microphone if you know you have a question and it's acceptable to walk up while the candidate's speaking. And then whatever audience is happy to standing there and having time, will use that microphone. Or we can bring the microphone to you if you raise your hand. So I just want to see how the audience feels. Those who'd like to walk to the microphone and stand in line so that we're not going crazy trying to see who a hand came up first, raise your hands. I thought that's the way it would go. So we're going to bring you the microphone, but please don't yell out your questions. We're going to be orderly and respectful. I cannot see all the time one room, the side of the room to the other to know whose hand came up. Please be patient with me if I happen to miss yours and you knew you were next. And the person who brings you the microphone will stand next to you so they can get it and freely move to the next person. We're going to start, and I'm going to look at, because I changed the order as I left my office because I thought it made more sense to move the way I had it. We are going to start with our State Assembly, District 60, and Bill Asali is here tonight to tell you why he'd like to represent you. And you can come up, Mr. Asali. We have one question for all candidates. So somewhere in either your introduction or in your body, please answer the question, what makes you different than your opponent? And I'd like every single one of the candidates to please address that. But I think I also have on the back of one of these pages. And this microphone, unless you keep it right here, and you've noticed probably it's cut out on me sometimes, one teeny little move and it doesn't work, so it has to be right here. I'm going to find your question here, and if I don't, then you just freelance.
Freelance is good.
And I think you would like that better. Okay. Bear with me, so sorry. I had some really good questions for each candidate. No, the questions. I wrote them on the back of the page because there wasn't room to write them here. Well, Mr. Asali, I think all the candidates are going to be off the hook because I cannot find the questions I wrote. So we're going to give you the microphone.
Your question is about safety. Now we changed it.
I'm going to give you the microphone, and Barbara will tell you when you're ready to begin, or when you begin, she is going to hit. And by the way, Barbara's holding a runner's timer, so it's very accurate. Mr. Asali.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you all for coming tonight. Let me just start off by telling you who I am, because a lot of you, it's your first time meeting me. My name is Bill Asali. I'm a lifelong resident of Corona. I grew up in Corona. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents came from Lebanon in the 80s. They fled a civil war. And they came here to pursue, to them, the American dream. And we had a great childhood. We grew up, went to public school, had great schools, we had great roads, we had good police and sheriff and fire departments, and it was a safe place to grow up. And I decided I wanted to dedicate my life to public service. So I became a prosecutor, first in my family to go to college and law school. I served as a deputy DA in Riverside, and then as an assistant U.S. attorney here in Riverside as well. And so what I noticed is, as a prosecutor, when we're working hard to keep the public safe and to convict criminals, Sacramento politicians were working hard to let them out the back door. So one of the reasons I decided to run is because I am not okay with the current trajectory of California. I love your question about what makes us different. It's important to have clear contrast in elections. Elections have consequences, and you have to decide as voters which direction you want to take this state. If you want to continue down this path where crime is going up, violent crime is up 15% according to the Attorney General's office. I don't even have to tell you, you probably know thefts are on the rise. Burglaries, car break-ins, mail thefts. I did so many mail thefts as a federal prosecutor. Homelessness issues directly related to Proposition 47. I wish we had more time to talk about that. But it's a result of these Sacramento policies that you've seen, our public safety issue we're seeing now. The other issue that's really become apparent in California is there is a war on the middle class. Sacramento has continued to increase taxes on the middle class. Sabrina Cervantes, my opponent, she was the key vote for the gas tax. Now the gas tax is what I call a regressive tax. That affects low-income people and us, the hardest, middle class, yes.
Yeah, 2 minutes goes fast.
2 minutes goes fast.
Okay, give me that microphone.
Yes.
Okay, I typed my questions, that's why I couldn't find them. So, in an attempted efficiency. So, here are two things that I wrote, and perhaps you could start with these. Your opponent stated that you're too extreme for Riverside County. I'd like to have you explain why you might be too extreme if you think you are. Obviously you don't think you are. But also, why are you voting to repeal the gas tax?
Great questions. First of all, no, I don't believe I'm extreme. I actually believe that the policies my opponent is, and too bad she's not here to defend herself. I wish she would actually attend the debates. We can talk about these things. But I think her policies are extreme. I think raising taxes on the middle class is extreme. A $52 billion tax that will cost you on average $800 a year. I think letting out criminals and prioritizing criminals above the safety of citizens is extreme. I don't believe that we should be handing out needles and drugs to people who are addicted on the street. I think those policies are extreme. So if you ask me if I'm extreme, no, I think I'm mainstream. And I represent the views, hopefully, of the majority of the people in the district. The reason I'm against the gas tax is because we already have the second highest gas tax in the country. We now have the highest income tax, the highest sales tax, and now the highest gas tax, and there is nothing to show for it. They have been completely irresponsible in mismanaging our tax dollars up until now. Sacramento has made it clear they have no interest in building roads or freeways. They said we need to put everyone in a bus and a train. They have no interest in building your roads. This tax is nothing but a way to get more revenue into Sacramento. They have pet projects. So when you're thinking about the gas tax and what they have on TV, just remember, Jerry Brown and the Sacramento Democrats are going to spend $100 billion on a train to nowhere. So when you ask yourself, why should we give up more of our money? Why am I being asked to raise taxes on my gas tax when they have $100 billion to spend on a train? So no, let's prioritize our money. I don't want money going to a train. Let's put it in roads. Let's put it in fire. Let's put it in police. Let's put it in public safety. So I don't believe the gas tax. I'm not into the gas tax because they have a poor track record and they've mismanaged their money before, and I don't believe they're going to spend the $50 billion wisely. Yes, ma'am.
I hadn't announced questions, but you, Tina, Tinka, were right there. So we're going to take yours. We probably have time for one or two questions. Oh no, you hold on to this. Sorry.
Yes.
I can get to
Tinka,
this
yeah,
one.
why don't you just walk right up here? And if someone else wants to follow Tinka up, do it right now, and then we'll get our questions fast.
I know that you do oppose the gas tax. And as a person who drives, the roads and the infrastructure and the bridges and everything else, I'm tired of privatization coming in and charging us to use the roads and having the toll things. So what would you propose in lieu of the gas tax? What would you propose to fix our infrastructure?
Great question, and this is another big issue. Sabrina says she secured $400 million. When you look at where that money is going, they're going to use it to build a toll road on the 15 freeway. So not only are you paying for the gas tax, you're going to pay 25 bucks a pop every time you want to use the freeways and not sit in traffic. This is not a sustainable model. In fact, it's creating a class system. If you're rich, you don't sit in traffic. If you're the rest of us, you sit for 2 hours. No, we have to start putting the money that's intended to be used for roads into roads. I'll give you a quick example. They weigh the trucks on the freeways, okay? The heavier the trucks, the more they pay. The idea is they're causing more damage on the roads. That collects about $1 billion a year. Every penny goes into the general fund. None of it goes to the roads. So we need to reallocate the money and make sure it's going to the roads. This is a matter of not finances, it's a matter of willpower. And if you're not happy with what Sacramento is doing, you have to change the leadership in Sacramento. So I will reprioritize what we spend our money on so it goes to public roads and not toll roads.
And we have time for one more question. Jason Hunter.
Sure, I'll make it a quick one. I think it'll be popular. So I think in order to represent your constituents, your people, you need to come out into the community and actually listen to them. We haven't seen our current representative out here at this community meeting personally ever. Could you make the commitment to come out and maybe at least attend one meeting a year at RRR?
I will commit to that. I think it's important to stay in touch with your voters, the people you work for, and who elect you. I have accepted every opportunity for a meet and greet, as Sharon knows, maybe too many. And there's so many issues to talk about. We don't have time to talk about everything, but I mean, do you guys know that they're going to build a 100-foot power line through your neighborhoods? Riverside, Maruka? Okay, this is unconscionable. I mean, you cannot build power lines through people's neighborhoods and not let them have a say in it. So this is another issue I've looked at. I am opposed to the above ground power lines. Sabrina refuses to speak about it. She refuses to take a position on it. One thing about me, you'll never question where I stand on the issue. You have my word, I'll let you know. Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we won't, but at least you know where I stand.
That was actually my second question,
Oh,
so
yeah.
thank you for answering that as well.
And
So-
you've got 1 minute closing.
1 minute closing. I just want to say, just take a look at California. Take a look around you. If you're happy with the direction of California, if you think you're better off now than you were 4, 5, 10 years ago, keep voting for the same person. Keep voting for the Democrats. If you want to try something different, you have to change the leadership. And I will commit to prioritizing the interests of our community ahead of the interests of Sacramento. Sabrina's record, you can take a look at it. 90% of her money comes from Sacramento. All those TV commercials and radio ads and mail, she's spending millions of dollars because she votes the way Sacramento likes her to vote. They want to keep her. My money comes from the district. It comes from hardworking people like you. And I don't mind that she's got more money because I'm willing to outwork her, and I think work beats money every day. So I hope you'll take a look at our campaign. We got a booth here. You can check out my website, takeback60.com. You can come talk to me. I'll answer any question you have. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to voters directly and answer questions, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And this person has attended our class, actually not even invited. He came to a meeting because he heard we were having it, and he introduced himself. Then he came to the RRR Ice Cream Social, and when he heard about tonight, he was one of the very first persons to accept my invitation. For those of you who are wondering, did I invite all candidates? Absolutely. I invited all candidates, and actually the only candidate that did not accept was Sabrina Cervantes. Karen Spiegel won't be here tonight because she was here last month. Art Casperin was here last month, and there's someone else that I'll tell you in a bit when I look at my notes who was here last month. So candidates had the opportunity between the 2 months because I knew their schedules were busy. So now our next candidate that we're going to introduce is going to be for County Supervisor, District 2, and it's Mr. Eric Linder. Mr. Linder has attended RRR in the past, and I believe, hopefully, will be active in the community. He's got a big territory to cover. 2 main things that people have wanted to hear from you, and of course, our TRP. We want to hear that. Also, you stated in a PE article that if elected, safety is going to be one of your top priorities, and you said, quote, right now we're in a cycle of releasing criminals into the public. Well, if elected, what would you do to change that early release and cut down those criminals coming into our communities?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've always enjoyed meeting with this organization. And thank you for what you do for our community. Organizations like this are critical to the wellness of our region. And I've always asked and leaned very heavily on organizations like this because you guys are the experts in your particular neighborhoods. So therefore, when I'm tasked with making policy, I've always liked to go to the experts and listen more than I like to talk. So, and public service is about caring for our community and caring for the people in our community. And that's exactly what your group does. It's public service before politics. Politics, everybody know the root in the meaning of politics. It's Greek. It's poly for many, and then ticks are blood-sucking parasites. But I got involved. Okay, I had a couple seconds. But I got involved exactly for that reason. I wanted to give back to my community. I've lived in the area since I was in first grade. I went to high school here, raised my family here, started a business here. And right now our county's facing some very serious issues. We've got a budget shortfall, rising crime and homelessness, and though to many the economy is doing well, a lot of people just aren't seeing the benefits. And the position of county supervisor is very important to the direction of our community. Unlike the legislature, which I'm used to, there was 120 members split between 2 houses. At the county level, there's five members of the board that control almost everything. And so I believe we need someone with the experience to solve some of the difficult issues that we're facing. And that record for me started over a decade ago. When my city wanted to raise some fees and taxes, I started the Corona Taxpayers Association. And later I had the pleasure of and honor of representing this district in particular in the assembly to take my fight for community to Sacramento. Is that the done deal sign already? Wow, I got a lot more to do.
Just for the introduction, you now have questions you can
All right,
address.
well, I'll finish, I think I'm about a quarter of the way done, and I'll try and get some of that done in my close. So,
Does anyone want to step to the microphone and ask a question? And Jason, I know you always have them. Why don't you lead? Because that'll give other people time to walk up should they have a question.
So this one goes back to, I guess, a previous question. As a county supervisor, you'll have some sort of influence over the Riverside Transmission Reliability Project, which of course is going to run through the majority of District 2. And so where do you stand on that, not just in the area outside of Riverside, but inside Riverside, maybe leaning on the city a little bit to use some of its $350 million and literally lose cash just sitting under a mattress to underground the power lines out here in the West End?
sure, and thank you for you guys have done a great job making this a very prominent issue, and I gotta thank you because you guys are doing a lot of work for the people that aren't as involved. You guys are doing a good service to them, and I think the biggest role that I can have is predominantly as cheerleader. This process is going through the Public Utilities Commission in Sacramento. I have that experience in Sacramento of knowing how Sacramento works, so I think I can help along the way there. But I do believe that I can be an extension of you and be a cheerleader for undergrounding. I've never been a big fan of having giant power structures in my own backyard. I don't think it's good for property values and the like, but and I think that the entities involved would be would be willing to do as much undergrounding as possible. And I want to make sure that the Hidden Valley Nature Preserve is protected as much as possible as well. But I can't do it alone. I'm going to need your support and your help as well. And that's why you guys, what you're doing here is very important.
Is there another question? If not, I have one. When you say we can help and we can help you help us, what can we do now at this point if we don't want the RP overhead?
The good news is I think you're already doing it. The fact that this is the first question and it's been addressed and asked a number of times to elected officials in front of a group of very, very interested parties that have a say, that have a vote, that wants to get out and get that word out in the community. That's a great starting point. Keep this issue a very prominent issue. You're not alone. This is going on in Norco. This is happening in Jurupa Valley. It's not just this area. This is an issue that affects our region. So thank you.
Is there another question? Nancy.
You were talking about the homeless. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I think that this is an issue that she's asking about the homeless. This is a very serious issue that I think snuck up on a lot of on governments, not just Riverside County, but at the city level as well. Now, I want to take what we've seen, where we've seen success, and maybe duplicate and see what's worked and tweak it so that it works across the board. Right now in Riverside County, we effectively, now I'm not saying that that you're not going to be able to go out there and find a homeless veteran, but we're at a net zero right now with homeless veterans. Now, this is not something that's easy to replicate. Let's take a look at how we got there and figure out how to use that for maybe people that are homeless because of mental disability or because of other issues. So I think that's a good start. It's a very complicated issue that I'm not going to be able to talk about in 30 seconds, but I want to take what is working and maybe expand on that.
There's time for one more question before he does his closing. Yes.
Hey, my name is Jose Armas. Just a quick question. This thing says final subsequent environment impact report. What does final mean? No more options, no more doing nothing, it's done?
That is an environmental impact report. That deals with when there's a very expensive study that goes on when they're doing the planning, and that's where they just take the environmental impact on the community. So that's everything from finding out what endangered species are going to be affected by the construction and and maintenance of these lines and the like. So that's one small step in the grand scheme of the large report of the process. So that is an important one, but there's a lot of work in Sacramento and amongst leaders and the entities and stakeholders to get that finished.
If there's one short question, we can take it because you have been very clear and short with your answers, which allows you more questions.
That's a double-edged sword.
one more question. I don't know if you'll answer quickly, but the county has a massive unfunded pension liability program which threatens to eat up all the services to the residents in order to pay for pensions for people who aren't actually currently working anymore. How would you address that?
So this is something you're hearing a lot also. It's you're talking about pensions, and this is something, it's obviously a very, very massive cost of any government in any jurisdiction. I think that there's a lot of things that need to be upfront and discussed, and one of them is that it takes a lot to get somebody to put themselves between a bullet and you. So I want to make sure that anything that does happen to adjust pension doesn't take away the ability, making sure that we're able to attract the best possible officers and employees for the county. But that being said, I think collective bargaining is a good start. We need to make sure that the stakeholders, the people who are affected by it, have a seat at the table, and that we can use the negotiation process to make sure that this is something that protects the current employees and still makes us a strong, so that people want to do this work.
And Mr. Linder, you've got your 1 minute closing.
I got my 1 minute, so I'll do the best I can. Let's see. Okay. Well, I think what I was known for in the assembly was bringing people together from all kinds of different groups, and as a result, I was able to help bring UCR Medical School to Riverside. You know, there was a lot of people, a lot of members and legislators all over the state that wanted that money for pet projects in their district, and we're outnumbered. We have like 5 or 6 legislators in Riverside County, but LA's got 20 something, so they have a lot more power most of the time. And fighting for that was something that I'm extremely proud of. While I was in the legislature, 180,000 Riverside County residents found work. I opposed every tax that came before me, and stopped over $120 billion in new taxes, including the original gas tax that came up. I was one that authored all the legislation that found the money that filled that deficit, because that money is needed for our infrastructure. But I found that money and filled the deficit and authored legislation without raising a single penny in taxes. So that can be done, guys. And that's the red card. So I'm Eric Linder. I hope that when you guys go to the ballot and make that important decision, you remember Eric Linder. So thank you.
If you're wondering why, for the first 2 offices, we only had 1 candidate, 1 didn't accept being here, and 1 came last month. Our next office, though, for county sheriff, we have both candidates here. We have the incumbent, and we have his challenger. I had to decide, well, what order do I introduce you guys in? It was simple. Whoever accepted my invitation first, they're going to come on first. That was Chad Bianco. And so, Chad, I saw you here. Come on, walk up. There's certainly something that's been on people's minds. And that is your largest support, we believe, but you can confirm this, is coming from the Sheriff's Association, true?
That is true.
Okay, and could you share with the audience as you speak approximate dollars that were donated to your campaign from them and approximate number of workers who volunteered? Because we want to know how you are going to be in a position of management and now have this group of people with their own needs who have supported you. How are you going to balance that to bring to the people what they need and still keep the people who supported you where they need to be kept? Does that make sense? This is yours. 2 minutes.
This is mine? That absolutely makes sense. And finally, you're all going to get to hear the truth instead of political jargon. But anyway, my name is Chad Bianco. I am currently a lieutenant with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I've been here for 25 years. I am married to my wife, Denise, who's out here somewhere. There she is. We have 4 kids that we raised here in Riverside. 3 of them are still here. One of them is in the Army, so he's in Nashville. But now it's just us. Work-wise, 2 minutes is not enough time, but work-wise, I have a very extensive background in this department and 25 years experience with all of the people that are currently supporting me, in addition to all of the other police agencies that are also supporting me. So to address your question, I am very humbled and I am very happy and I'm very proud to have the support of the men and women that are out working to keep you all safe in your neighborhoods. They're dollar-wise, I have absolutely no idea the exact amount. Since he throws it out all the time, I'll just go ahead and say it's $1 million. It might be more than that. And really, if it was $5 million, I'd be more proud than that. And they would be more proud to give it to me, because what we need in this department is a change. Not only for the department, but for you. We need a change in the way we conduct business with basically this entire, one of the questions earlier, this wasn't mine, but what makes me different than the current sheriff? We're night and day. I am a public servant that every day when I go to work, I want to make a difference for you. I want somehow to make my job benefit you any way possible. I want to help you safety in your houses, in your neighborhoods, in your schools, and we need to make a difference. So there's approximately 2,500 men and women in the Riverside County Sheriff's Department that have pooled their money and decided to give it to me because we in the department realize that leadership in our department has failed. I'll finish at the 2 minutes at the end, or the 1 minute.
Actually, because you answered something I asked during your introduction, you get an extra minute.
You're so nice. So there are 2,500 members of our department that have pooled their money together because they absolutely know that the unfortunate part of an election is it takes money to run a campaign. The current sheriff has had 11 years to raise money. That's all he does is politic. Another major difference is I'm a law enforcement officer. I want to make a difference. I will not, and I'll tell you this, all during, if I'm fortunate enough to win, all during my tenure, I will tell you I'm not a politician. I'm a lawman that's going to make a difference in your community the absolute best I possibly can. And that is why the 2,500 members of our department have pooled their money together to help me in this election. It would be impossible to run against his $1 million if they did not give me $1 million to combat that. So really, is it really that big of an issue? He makes a big deal out of my $1 million, but not his. Mine came from 2,500, his came from roughly 3 or 4, was 3/4 of it. So please don't let money be an issue, because it takes money to raise a campaign. Let it be about the issues that I'll still talk about with questions.
Okay. First question.
I don't like red. That used to be my favorite color.
Going once, going twice. Lady by the pole.
Do you know, and you may have to ask the association, if there are any members of the Sheriff's Association that have gone to the president to ask that their political action committee money be stopped going to your campaign?
The question is, are employees going to the association saying, do not support Chad Bianco, we don't want our money going to him? The answer is no. That came up in Facebook in the other side's campaign claiming that everyone was leaving the association. It's simply not true. So I asked the president directly, and he told me there are 2 people. 2 people for different reasons, had nothing to do with me. So the answer is no, they are not. They are willingly giving their money from their checks. That's what it's there for, and they are willingly supplying it to me to help make a difference in this department.
Hi, I have a question. I hear a lot that you have the support of the sheriffs and RSA, but could you tell me what education, training, experience you have that makes you better qualified to run the sheriff's department than our current sheriff?
I have 25 years in the department, in virtually every aspect that we have. Corrections, patrol, vice, narcotics, gangs, internal affairs, administration, then supervising those things, traffic, supervising all of those issues that we deal with in a normal law enforcement basis, and then managing those as a lieutenant. Budget-wise, regardless of what you're going to hear, and there's employees here that'll stick up for me, lieutenants in our department do our budget. I have 13 years of budget experience, including 2.5 of running our biggest budget, which is Moreno Valley. Education-wise, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, countless training classes that all law enforcement officers go to. I don't like yellow either. There was a third part of your question.
And just experience that you have that makes you better qualified as a candidate.
The bottom line, what this comes down to is a vote of no confidence, and it comes down to leadership. It comes down to leadership ability. They're not picking me. They don't want me to lead this organization because I might be younger or better looking. They're picking it because it's leadership ability. And this is not about did you check the boxes to get here. It's about whether or not you can lead a 4,000 member department.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
I like that better than
You
red.
have 1 minute to close.
I have 1 minute to close.
1 minute to close.
I want to thank you guys all for coming out. I especially want to thank the kids. I talked to them earlier about young kids getting involved in politics, so we don't have to. I actually told one of them that they're going to fix all of the problems that the older generation has. So good for the kids. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I want all of you to please be informed in this election. Please do your research. It is unbelievably important in this department that we make a change. This election, this department, this sheriff's race is about change. This is about making a difference for your community. For the first time in the history of Riverside County, now the current incumbent sheriff is running for re-election without the support of any law enforcement agency or current law enforcement leader. That speaks volumes. This is not about who went to school the longest or who went to the right class. This is about leadership ability. It's about failed leadership. It's about wanting to make a difference in our department, changing directions, and ultimately providing a community-oriented based policing service to you. Thank you all.
Thank you. The incumbent for this position, Sheriff Stan Sniff, is also with us this evening. I'm thrilled that we have both candidates here because we certainly want to hear what both people have to say. There was a couple of, you can come on up here, Sheriff Sniff. There were a couple of things that people had either called or emailed to me, and I will ask of you, as I did to your opponent, feel free to build it into your introduction or wait until there's questions, but use your time however you'd like. One was, do you feel in your position as sheriff that at some point the baton should be passed? And if you think it should, when would you say that timing is? And it doesn't have to be specific for you, but just for that particular position. And the other one was that there is a rumor that you've targeted people in your department that have been politically motivated. I think this is a wonderful forum for you to be able to address that openly.
Great. Well, I also want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and being interested in some of the great issues that we have before us in Riverside County. I'll underscore the first question that you asked at the end of that, and the answer is no. The other issue that comes to mind is as far as changing or passing the baton, if you will, onto other leaders. There is a time for that in the department, and the department does a lot of succession planning. One of the things that I'll underscore to you that you've probably seen in the campaign so far is there are some 90 lieutenants, and certainly my opponent is one of those 90 lieutenants, but there's also 24 captains, and there's chief deputies, and assistant sheriffs, and an undersheriff that actually deal with the big policy issues. No lieutenant deals with the policy issues of the department. No lieutenant ends up dealing with the fiscal issues that we work out with the county executive office and certainly the board of supervisors. And you certainly also heard from a candidate for the board of supervisors knowing full well that this county is very fiscally challenged. And you've watched that unfold over these past couple of years as all the public safety departments were cut deeply. District attorney, sheriff, probation department, even the public defender got mangled for the last couple of years because there just simply has not been enough money around. And so the issues of having an executive, somebody with experience, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but I've had a couple of dozen years now as an executive in the department dealing with budgets and policy issues, but having somebody that ends up dealing with those things day in and day out is really vitally critical for putting those resources on the road. All the frontline resources are absolutely critical that were referenced by my opponent on it, but it still takes executive experience to end up doing it, as well as the education and training. So, are there other folks that are going to take up for me? Absolutely. Are they going to come from lieutenant ranks? Probably not. They're going to probably come from higher ranks or those who have been in outside agencies like police chiefs and assistant police chiefs that have the experience on dealing with those type of policy issues. So with that, I'm going to transition to a little bit about myself. I grew up out in the Coachella Valley. I've been a product of Riverside County and a resident all my life. I've now spent 40 years serving on a small police department, coming to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office in 1979. Like many of you that are my age bracket, you've seen tremendous growth in our county, and you've also seen the impact that's had, particularly in the public safety arena. And one of the things I'll underscore to you that why the office of sheriff is so utterly critical to the quality of life of every single one of you and all 2.4 million folks that make up Riverside County today is because in one shape or another, even if you're served by a great police department like my good friend Sergio Diaz running the Riverside Police Department, the office of sheriff touches every single one of you. Not only on the patrol operations where we serve about 1.4 million folks, but a massive jail operation that's about to get a lot bigger, where each of the police departments have the ability, and anybody else that makes an arrest inside of Riverside County has the ability to actually book somebody into the criminal justice system. That's where that starts. That's part and parcel what every sheriff does. In addition to that, I also serve as an administrator for the courts, providing security and doing civil service. And of course, most of you know from my introduction, I'm also the coroner public administrator. So a very complex aircraft, if you will. And I often liken when I'm talking with the public, and I do spend a lot of time talking with the public back and forth on these issues, very similar to flying a 747, as complex as it is. Your sheriff's department is one of the biggest and most complex of any of our California law enforcement agencies, but you want somebody that's in that cockpit that can be a pilot, has served as a pilot, or at least a co-pilot, or even in the back seat, or simply in a flight simulator. It is absolutely critical to the quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, we can now take some questions for you. Yours was the first hand.
Mr. Stansted, can you please define sexual assault on a minor, please?
What is that reference?
Can you define sexual assault on a minor?
Yeah, it's a sexual assault on anybody below the age of 18.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sir, during your campaigning over the time, was there a point in time where you gladly accepted the union money and there was no problem doing it then?
Well, that's interesting because I get a lot of blog comments about how I take RSA money. In 2014, the last time I ran, I had the RSA endorsement, but not one dime from RSA. In 2010, where I also stood election against a well-funded opponent, I had a small amount of money. But in counterpoint to what my opponent has talked about, I raised money from hundreds and hundreds of people, not only wealthy, but also dirt poor out there, and have broad brush support. And that's what the office of sheriff is all about. And it's all good and well to talk about 2,500 members of RSA pooling their money. They did not do that willingly. It was done by union heads. And most of you need to understand what the hometown rule is. One union leader backing another union leader, and not with broad support. And most of you know the Janus case that got decided by the United States Supreme Court. Will probably begin cutting some of that off. But largely, union money is coming from the hands of the leaders, not the members.
And we have a question at the microphone.
No. Sir, you say you haven't punished people that didn't support you or your campaign in the past, but I'm well aware of dozens of fellow employees, past employees who retired with 25 to 30 years of dedication to the county and sheriff's department that you wouldn't provide them retirement on their retirement. Can you, and that includes myself, could you explain to me why that is?
Well, there are not dozens. That's not factual at all. And secondly, in California, by law, it is the authority of the police chief and the sheriff for those honorably discharged or retired out of law enforcement agencies. So it's not an automatic birthright. It is paid for out of county taxpayers, and it is not a requirement of the law. It is something that we do here in Riverside County, but the term is honorably retired, and the decision on what meets that criteria is set forth by the state penal code.
And another question at the microphone.
There's probably been more mud slung in this campaign race than any I can remember, and I've lived here for a long time. So I'm going to talk about the issues for a second. Where do you stand on concealed carry in sanctuary cities?
Well, those are two complex ones, so I'm probably going to run over the 2 minutes. But on carry concealed weapons permits, and I think most of you are aware, or at least those that are familiar with me, that I've been a longtime supporter of Second Amendment issues. When I came to this office 11 years ago, there were about roughly 500 permits that were issued by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, probably a record at that point. As of this last week, there are now over 3,900 active permits. One of the things that we were able to do is get some money freed up late this last spring to hire the additional staff. What many of you don't understand is the statutes in California cap what we can charge. And so they cost the county taxpayers about $200 a piece to subsidize that. And unfortunately, when we were faced with a lot of cuts that reduced our end strength by about 15%, we could not beef up the CCW unit when, in fact, the December 2015 terrorist incident occurred. We had overwhelming demand that got fueled again by some of the other mass shootings. So we weren't able to beef it up until our budget turned around. We had 2 straight years of some deep cuts, and that now has turned the corner, and we've got a little bit of money. So now we're up, and the backlog of those permits is way down. I got cut off on your other one.
Behind the pole with the blonde hair.
You said you don't retaliate, but is it true that you put Lieutenant Bianco in the basement with absolutely no responsibilities?
That is absolutely false, and he ought to clarify.
What were his responsibilities?
He needs to clarify that now too, because there are, Heidi, let me talk. There are people that are in the basement, including captains and lieutenants. Chad Bianco was assigned on the first floor, and he knows that, in a lieutenant's office, next to another lieutenant, across the hallway from the lieutenant on the first floor, our media room. So the basement is nonsense. The assignments are made by captains in the chain of command, not the sheriff, as far as what tasks they have.
And yellow tie.
Hi, I want to follow up on the child molestation question. Specifically, can you please define child molestation as it applies to a child of 14 and younger?
As far as what, Louis? And this is a setup. Yeah, it is. Just like Kitty Alvarado is doing an interview right now on KMIR. Louis, this is getting carried away.
Just a reminder, we have some people that haven't attended RRR in the past, and we are respectful to our presenters, and only one person speaks at a time. We do have a microphone here, so if there's someone who has something to say, please walk up to the microphone. Other than that, allow our person asking the question and our presenter to answer it. Thank you so much.
Well, all of you, I think, are getting a feeling for why this campaign has been so toxic. And we have a lot of folks that are arguing about things, trying to make political points. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move into my close. Louis, if you want to talk to us, just like you got an opportunity to talk before John Akey, do it there rather than turning this into a campaign event. So, your Riverside County Sheriff's Department, compared to what the comments were earlier, is doing a great job. It is overworked, it's undermanned. As I mentioned, we've ended up having our end strength reduced some 15% over the last couple of years. The county budget is in turmoil. Your Sheriff's Department each year, even though it faced deep cuts, was able, because of the leadership in the department and the brain trust and the skill sets, was able to land in the black each and every time. And that is a tribute to the professionalism of the department. Last year, even though you talk about crime going up, our violent crime rate in 2017 for the FBI actually went down in all the areas the sheriff's office ends up serving. And those are a lot of different areas, a lot of different issues. The big issue in the last 20 seconds that all of us are facing is a too small jail system that is now being fixed out the other end of the county with a massive new Benoit detention center. And we're going to be able to staff that not all at once. It's really going to be subject to the amount of money we end up getting from the Board of Supervisors. But over the next few years, that will help us a lot, including in your community in Riverside. Because really, we end up having prisoners from all over Riverside County. Thank you.
Now, please don't sit down, because we had the interruption. I think it's only fair to give you a little bit more time that we took away from you. I see 2 people at the microphone. One might be a detractor, and
this one's a setup.
Okay, and one is a supporter. So why don't we go ahead and we'll end on the note of a supporter, and we'll start with a question that he didn't ask, and keep it as short as possible so that it is relevant.
Thank you. I think you heard me, but I'll be happy to say it again. Your definition of child molestation, specifically as it pertains to a child of 14 years of age or younger.
Well, I think it speaks on its own merits. A sexual molestation, improper touching, or any other type of sexual activity with somebody under the age of 14.
Thank you.
Okay. And one more question.
Hi, my name is Ronaldo Badr, Sheriff. I don't know how to turn this on. If it's
Oh,
on or
just
not.
talk into it.
Okay.
Yes.
I retired. I just started working in your campaign last week after the dirty crap that was going on in the other campaign. I want to say this. There's some mudslung here. I don't appreciate it because I respect the position. And the position that we have here, you guys are acting like children. Secondly, the money that was given, no, they said it. The money that was given was not done by the members. It was done by the leaders.
Excuse me. I'm going to ask you
I
to,
apologize.
thank you very much.
But it frustrates me the lies that are being thrown here.
So, I think you high school students? Well, are you glad you're here tonight?
A great example of democracy, and democracy, academic democracy in action.
Nobody got her.
Once again, I think I got a little bit of a reprieve. I appreciate, obviously you can see the toxicity in this campaign, and there's a lot of drama going on, and it's unfortunate. But I will echo some of the earlier comments that it really behooves all of you to look carefully at what's going on. Look at who's qualified, what their background is, and who is unqualified, and what the agenda is about. And the agenda is clearly before all of you, whether the Riverside Sheriff's Association, a union, one of 4 unions that the Sheriff's Department has, is going to dictate public policy for the chief law enforcement officer. In other words, run the department, much less run the county. And that's what is issue right now with all that massive money. So yes, I raise a lot of money, but it is dwarfed by the amount of money this union is pouring in to dictate public policy and decapitate the heads of the Sheriff's Department right now and remove the brain trust. Your department is well run, and you don't need a crapshoot right now with all the things that we face throughout California, where the criminal justice system turned on its head, and the other challenges you and I have before us with all the growth and particularly the issues with funding in county government, much less the pension liability that's rolling over the top. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do is some of the candidates who came tonight, and by the way, a big hand for every candidate who's spoken so far. Please. I'd like to take a 5-minute break. We never take breaks. However, I know there are candidates who have other places they have to be, and they came this evening specifically so they could be introduced. I want to give them the opportunity to do what they need to do. We can take a restroom break. You can take a little snack break, and we will begin again in 5 minutes where we're ready to begin with our Alva Unified School District trustee. Thank you. 5 minutes. Here's how we're going to handle our introductions for our trustees. We're going to go by wards. So we have 3 wards that are looking to have an election. So we've got Area 1, we have Area 3, we have Area 4. We have all candidates have agreed to come address you at RRR, except for one that I could never reach. And so we're very well represented this evening. A couple of candidates came last month, so for those of you here last month, you were able to hear them. And we're going to start with Area 1. And in Area 1, we have 3 candidates, Greg Alexander, Art Casprian, and Joanna Durado. Last month, Art Casprian spoke because his, I was going to say his students, but that would be terribly generous. His children bought him a trip to Europe, and that's where he is right now, visiting family in Italy. Joanna Durado also spoke last month, and so this month we have 1 candidate for Area 1, and that's Greg Alexander. And Greg, if you could come over to the front while I finish introducing you. Greg did come last month, and he knew he could not speak because all candidates were invited to come to both meetings, but they had to choose the one where they wanted to speak. Greg Alexander came last month just to listen. Here's the impressive thing. He came on his birthday. Let's hear it for Greg Alexander. So Greg, we'd like to have your 2-minute introduction.
I want to make a change. I have 2 little girls in addition. And some of the things that I saw, because I work in the Ontario Montclair School District now as an administrator. And as an administrator, you have the opportunity to work with different budgets and see how the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, works and where the funds go. And it's important that those funds are allocated appropriately so that our children can achieve higher status or academic status. And when I looked at the test scores of our kids in Albert at this moment in time, they're performing a below average. And that's not acceptable for our kids. It's not acceptable not for my kids and for all of our kids. And so it's my background as a teacher and as a principal combined, and in particular with the special education teachers, I understand curriculum and what it needs for the teachers need. Not only do they need the curriculum, they need to be trained on the curriculum. And the parents trained on the curriculum. What is Common Core? You know, we need to have those type of training so that we can come together and raise the test scores for our kids.
I'd like to ask the first question because this is coming from every single person, resident with whom I've spoken in our area who is a member of Albert Unified. We call it the Taj Mahal, and you know the building I mean. And for those of you who aren't out in this area, the district office moved to build their location into Corona building, and the rent there is $126,000 a month. Our residents want to know if you support the move and if you intend, if elected, to continue to support the building being there, or if you think we should move back into Riverside and use our own property.
Yeah.
And if you do feel that, you actually have a plan to make it happen. And whichever way you feel, please just support your position.
I absolutely, unequivocally oppose the move to Corona. Our community, our district office needs to be in our community where our community can have access. Notice I'm into what I would like to build is an education center and a parent center. Notice that the two have to go coherently together. So towards the betterment of our kids and our parents. Because our kids learn from our parents first, and then they learn from our school district. So we have to do that together. Do I have a plan? I do have some plans. I do think that we ought to build on the property that we already own.
Yes.
I found that we own property on Keller. I found that we own property on Apalacia or Strader Brothers across the street from Bank of America. Why not take a look at this lease of $126,000 a month on a 15-year lease? It used to be 25 to 40, but thanks to our current board, they got it down to 15. But lowering that lease, getting out of that lease somehow, some way, whether it's working with Monster or some other company, so that we can lower the lease and create plans to start building our own facility for our own community and our parents and our kids.
Now, how many Alvord community members do we have here tonight? Because you're, okay, a lot. You are going to be the ones who need to ask the questions then. We have a microphone here. If you have a question, please step up to the microphone. And students, I welcome you to please ask any questions you have.
Okay, mine's a two-part question. Can I only ask one?
See how long it is.
Okay, what about the penalties for moving? Is there going to be penalties for that? I just wasn't sure.
Well, there's intricacies as far as moving, because first we have to look at the process that how it got there. There's some agreements that were made with the owners of those buildings. $126,000 a month. That's to the tune of about $1.5 million that we're spending that we're not getting back. So we'll have to look into that, what those intricacies are, and be careful. But we need to go comprehensive, smart, well-planned moving back to our community.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that I will look at that and look at that fiscally so that we can bring it back to our community appropriately and smart.
Okay, that's what I want to know about penalties. I didn't know. And then the other thing I appreciate with our current board that we have is their availability. They're at the school sites during the day with the kids interacting. And I'm just wondering, as an administrator, what is your availability to be hands-on with the kids, being there to support them during the day while they're
Absolutely.
traveling to school?
Now, I said I was a director of special education for some time, but a couple of years ago I transitioned from that when I led the Ontario Montclair to become its own SELPA. And I did that because I accepted being the pastor of my church for 2 years. Interim pastor, my wife gave me permission to do that. And 2 years, and that 2 years, what I did, I was able to work with the superintendent, and I transitioned to a program specialist. So right now, my focus is on autism and the deaf and hard of hearing and visually impaired, because we have our California School for the Deaf. So I am the liaison with Ontario Montclair cities with the California School for the Deaf, and therefore it lowered my days significantly that I have to work in Ontario Montclair, and I get to go home at 4 o'clock.
So are you full-time?
Oh yes.
You are full-time?
I am full-time.
So how would that work with going to the schools? Would you have availability?
Well, yes, I have availability because I only work 212 days out of the year now, so I have a lot more time to that. And then, of course, by being able to get off at 4 o'clock, I can get back to Riverside by 4:45, 5 o'clock, depending upon the traffic.
Thank you
Susanna.
so much.
Hello, I'm Susanna Hernandez. I pay taxes to the Alvord School District. I think we should recall all the trustees that voted to move to Corona.
Susanna does not mince words.
No, I don't. And I will start the recall.
Good evening. My name is Ray Wagner. I'm a special education teacher at La Sierra. And my question is that what are you going to do about our lack of technology? I'm using the same books for 12 years. I have no computers or iPads or anything for my students. I don't even have a smart board.
Yes.
And we're way behind the time in terms of technology for students.
Thank you for asking that question, because that's the same question that I have for my daughter who was hearing impaired, where when she was at a county program where she got a Chromebook at kindergarten, but when we came back to Alvord successfully, guess what we had to do? We had to give the Chromebook back. And so what I would do is that what we have to get, we get the funds from the local accountability plan. We allocate those funds for technology, come up with a comprehensive plan to give access to our kids to technology so they can be competitive. There's parents that are pulling their kids out of Alvord to go to Coronado and go to Riverside, and how can we expect them to be competitive when they don't have access to the technology? And going back to the teachers as well, you do have some technology, but I've seen that technology. My wife is an engineer, and it's kind of dilapidated. I know as a special educator, 50% of our work is done on the special education information system, and without the proper technology, so you can't do that. So my goal would be to take a closer look at that LCAP plan, look at any funds that we can to put there that we have to, and also looking at other grant funds that may be available that support special needs to help offset that cost, to help us have the appropriate technology that we need.
Question?
Yes, hi, Dr. Anderson. I have a question. Currently, the board meetings are on Thursdays, and they have the teachers' meeting before the regular public meeting. Why don't they combine them? Why is it that someone has to sit through both?
Well,
that's just not cost efficient?
It's a teachers meeting from the school side, or teachers meeting from union, which meeting?
It's usually just the teachers from the union. If they're really supposed to see the standard of the quality of the teachers, you should have them combined so the public can see the reality of it.
Yeah, well, you really can't control that. That's an association, so they get to choose, when they meet and when they do not meet.
That's correct, but I'm talking about the meeting that is of public and part of the board.
Well, the meeting part, first you have a closed session, and then you have the open session. Okay, well, you have the open session, then you have closed session, then they come back.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
And so, your question as far as...
My question is, why is it that the teachers have their own little isolated time versus them appearing in the public time frame?
Like at the 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Instead of 6 o'clock, you're giving them isolated
Yeah.
time so they can express their own opinions instead of their actual behavior being shown as they really are as part of the public time.
I mean, that's something that we have to take a look at.
I think it's just recommended.
Yeah, that's how we can do with that.
Do we have another question? If not, we're going to go to the minute closing. Okay.
Professional gentlemen and administrators, what kind of a rapport do you have with your classified?
Oh, I love my classified. I'm glad you asked that question. As a matter of fact, the Alvord classified staff have endorsed me 100%. And that's our cafeteria workers, our special education aides, our custodians. They all have supported me. And as a special education administrator, we can't function without you all. But bus drivers, we can't function without you. When my daughter came and to get picked up from bus driver, she's the first person that she saw. And she liked school because she liked Juan that greeted her. So I commend all those that are here today. Thank you for the endorsement, and I won't let you down.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I get closing?
Oh, I thought that was your closing.
Oh, I was asking your question.
Sorry.
It sounded good, I guess.
Y'all recognize that the roots are blonde.
The question was asked, what makes me different? Okay. I have a vision because I believe there's time for change. I'm deeply concerned with the education of our children. At first I thought about was my children, but then I thought, why not all of our children? What makes me different than what we've had is that, one, I've been a school principal. I know what it's like to sit in that hot seat. I've been a teacher recently, within 10, 15 years. I know what it's like. I've been a district office person, so I understand how to look at a budget. A budget at the educational level is different than a business level. So that's another thing. I have currently two children right now that are district, so I see it every day. So another thing is I understand curriculum, and of course I'm endorsed by the union. These things combined, I feel that I am the best for this job to turn this around. When I go door to door, and I've been to about 200 doors myself. My feet are hurt right now. But it's all the same thing. We've got to get the achievement of our kids up. I'm the man to do that because I understand curriculum. I understand parents. I understand how we can do that. Let's take our kids to the next level. Remember it, because it's our kids, our future. Visit me, Alexander, for our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. we have 3 more candidates, 2 from Area 3, 1 from Area 4. And again, how I chose the order, the first to say yes to come is the first to speak. Julie Moreno, come up. And at some point you can say, what makes you different than the other candidates? That'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so very much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to all of you this evening. First of all, I want to share a little bit about myself for those of you who do not know me. And that is my husband and I are small business owners here in the community and have been for 27 years. We have 2 children, all who have gone through the Elmwood Unified School District, K through 12. Graduated both, very, very proud to say, valedictorians at La Sierra High School. Went on to graduate from UCLA and UC Santa Barbara. The reason why I say this is because I truly believe that children are our greatest gift. And given that, Elmwood has done my children very well. And because of that, 4 years ago, I made the decision to want to continue advocating for children far further than when my children were only here. In doing that, in the last 4 years, I'm very proud of what I've been able to accomplish alongside with my colleagues. Some of those things are bringing back the arts and music to our district, something that was easily cut years ago, and we in Elmwood decided to make a stand and say we want to be the first, because data proves that children who have access to music and the arts gain in brain productivity. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm also proud of the fact that I have a very strong relationship with a lot of our students who I'm so blessed for here tonight. And that is they come to me and they say, Mrs. Marino, what about me? I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do that, but I do want to go on to pursue career and technical education. And I tell them, thank you for trusting me with your thoughts and your feelings. And alongside with my colleagues, we have been able to grow our CTE program extensively. That is something that we as a board need to take complete adherence to their needs, because they are the future. Those are our future leaders. So what we put into them today is what we will receive from them later. I know I see that red card coming up, and I do like to talk. It's okay, it's okay. I do like red still, as we can see. The question that was asked is what I believe separates me from my opponent or any other candidates. And I can clearly say that it's presence. I am who I am because the fabric and the core of who I am are children. Being an advocate for our children in this community is what is going to change our community. When we talk about tagging in our streets, when we talk about gang violence, when we talk about these serious issues and epidemics that face us, we have to take responsibility. We have to lead by example, because our children, that is the legacy that we will leave. And I believe that's what separates me, is the absolute presence in giving 100% of my time and energy to our future.
And we will also address the same question as Dr. Alexander as far as the district office. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the district office, or Taj Mahal as you referred to it, was one of the many things that I inherited as I came into office in 2014. So when I was first here 4 years ago, that was one of the largest questions and the largest points of contention in our community is, why did we move? How do you feel about that move? And at that time, I didn't have a lot of the information, because a lot of that information is handled in closed session. So without that information, who am I to make a decision? Who am I to give an opinion on something that I do not have all the facts? Since moving into the position, I did get some more information. And I'm very proud to say that I, along with my colleague who also inherited the decision of the building, worked feverishly and were successful in renegotiating the contract to remove us from a 25-year lease to a 15. So I'm very proud of that. And I do look forward to, in the future, continuing to work with the community to find a better solution for where our permanent home base will be.
Thank you. Do we have some questions for Julie? May I call you Julie, or Mrs. Marino?
Julie is wonderful.
I have a statement. I work at the school. She's always at the school. She's always checking in, at least the high school. You can tell her anything, you can talk to her, and she's a Jew.
You have a little teeny voice. So if anyone
And I
else,
can't remember.
we're going to have to use the microphone. Please come up this way.
I'm really loud.
Because people can't hear the question and then they cannot appreciate the answer.
I know the answer, but I think the room needs to know the answer. When that 25-year lease was negotiated, there was a penalty clause, and there was a financial penalty that was extreme that came up. And would you like to share with the room about that penalty clause?
There was, absolutely, and with that penalty, again, we have to do our due diligence as a Board of Education to comply with not only state laws and educational codes, but as well as remaining to have our district fiscally solvent. And one of the things that we were able to do in the renegotiation is save over $15 million in that renegotiation process. I would also like to mention that not only did we work collaboratively as a board and superintendent, we also worked with the community. Community had made a suggestion in having a gentleman come and give their input and consulting with us, and we were blessed to be able to work collaboratively together to make that happen. That's where community voice is so important. That is why things like this tonight are important. You need to be able to voice your concerns and your care, and we who you entrust need to take those concerns back to the office and be able to work out a solution for the future of our children and our community.
Do we have another question? Yes. Because you've asked one, I want to give everyone an opportunity.
It's the same question.
Yeah, she didn't answer it.
She didn't answer your question?
No.
Well, her minute was up, so I'm sorry. If someone in the room is going to ask the same one.
I'll be here. I'll be here all
Our
night.
time is very limited, and we have other candidates. So Julie, try and answer their question, because you've got 1 minute.
I know.
However, we must be out of the police department by 9 o'clock, which means we can be in here until 10 till. I need everyone's help so we can stay that late. When we're ready to leave, leave where you're sitting orderly. Bring everything out that you brought in, and if you see something lingering, just like camping, take that out also. Most candidates are always willing to stay outside of the room, and I've had people in the parking lot until 10 o'clock talking, and so you're all going to have an opportunity for those candidates that stay. There was another question in the back of the room. Could you walk up, please, so you can use the microphone? And I'll meet you halfway.
Okay, I'm going to try to answer this quickly.
Just wanted to
Time's
know,
ticking.
please share with us your educational background and have you ever been employed by a school district?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And I actually really appreciate this question because, like so many of my students in the district, I too went on, and I am an L Board kid myself. Went to Collette Elementary School, Arizona Middle School, and unfortunately my parents divorced. So I didn't get to graduate an Eagle like my children and my husband alike because we are L Boardians. And I will say that when I did move, I made the decision not to continue college, and I did leave college because, like so many of our students, I too wanted to go into service industry. And my husband and I have been successful business owners in the community for 27 years. So I think that I'm living proof that there are more than one pathway to success. So I'm really glad that you bring that up because it's one of the things I'm most passionate about, because sometimes we do get caught up in the degrees or all of the acronyms that go after our names. And I would like to make sure that especially our students know how important it is, because the greatest way to be successful is not just the pathway of education, but career and technical education, as well as making sure that you give back to your community, because that's the largest measure of success on how you help others in your own community. Sorry, I know I'm very long-winded.
Julie,
I will stay after.
all candidates.
I will stay after.
I will ask all candidates, please, respect the red card and respect the bell, because we're going to run out of time and then other candidates won't get it. Now, I told you this is being live streamed and texts are coming in, messages are coming in for people who are watching this. Julie, they cannot hear you.
Oh my goodness, that's
so
the last thing anybody's ever told me.
And so all candidates, please, when you use the microphone, I said, are they having problems hearing me? They said no. They can hear me without. So candidates, please, you have to keep the microphone not just close like this because it's not far away, but listen, it's gone. You must keep it in this direction. We'll take one more question and you can go to closing.
Oh, I get one more
I do want the
question. This is
opportunity, I do want the opportunity for people to be able to hear you. So let's ask, does someone have a very relevant, important question to give Julie the opportunity to be heard? Kid, anyone? I think,
I have a question.
come on, anyone?
Hi.
And also, our audience, hold it close.
Hi, I have a question. Our teachers have been working without a contract for going on 2 years now. And I've heard from our union that your position as school board members are now that you do have money to give us a raise, but you don't feel that we deserve one. What is your position on that?
Oh, goodness. I'm really, any closer? Okay, I'm going to almost eat this microphone. So I've never been told I was quiet, so this is kind of nice. But I will say that unfortunately, I would like to share with you that I can probably speak pretty fairly in regards to all of my colleagues, that we respect with the most utter respect for our teachers. The job that our teachers have is a very difficult one. All of our children come into our schools with their own unique stories and backgrounds. So the teaching profession, they have the responsibility to take those students with all of the different backgrounds and get to know them, get to teach them, get to lead them and mentor them. So if you're asking my position, the utmost respect for your profession and the utmost love for the teachers that we have in Alvord. I truly have a definitive respect and admiration for the job, especially those who teach in Alvord.
Okay, we have heard your passion tonight. Woo! Can we have a little applause here for Julie Moreno?
Thank you all so very much.
Our next candidate in Area 3 is Jose Perez. Mr. Perez, would you come up, please? Mr. Perez had been a former trustee for a number of years. His children went through the school district, his grandchildren went through, and then he chose not to run again. Something's brought him out of the mothballs, and he might tell us what that is during his introduction. Mr. Perez. And Mr.
Good morning.
Keep it close.
Good
morning.
I'm just kidding you. As if you were awake. You are awake. My name is Jose Luis Perez. I have been a board member in the district in previous years, probably approximately maybe 20, 24 years, something like that. Even before my good friend came to the board. One of the reasons I decided to run again is simply because I don't see the leadership that is required in our district to do the things that are needed to do. Maintain good teachers, provide the educational background that is needed for the kids to move on to bigger and better things. It's not easy, but it's doable. I know that. It is important to be able to present yourself to the superintendent and those in charge of authority in the district to be able to represent both the students and the teachers. That's not to say the people that elect you to the office. It is important to be able to be financially responsible. But overall, the highest, most important thing that we can do for our kids is to teach them to be able to live in this world and to be able to be successful. It's not necessarily easy to do, but it's doable. Too many people in our district are doing it. But when the leadership is lacking, continuity is missing. So in my situation, it is important to come forth and put my record on the line. I have been a board member in the district for approximately, being serious, about 22 years. I've been selected and elected and served my time to the best of my liability and here's the red line.
Okay, but your time isn't up. We can now open the floor for questions. And again, I encourage you to use a microphone. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Perez? If not, I'm going to ask them the same one that we asked the others. And Stacy, since you put your hand up, let's go ahead and hear what you have to ask this man.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. I know you've been here for 24 years and you retired. During that time of your retirement, I didn't see you around. So
Sorry, one more time?
during the time that you were absent the 4 years, I didn't see you around. There was other board members who retired and they were a part of committees and different things like that. So I'm just curious as to why you weren't active during that, your retirement.
Thank you. After so many years of serving, I figure I give people a break. And, it's a very good question, but new leadership came into line, and for me to continue to deal in things that I decided not to deal and back away from it at the time, it would be a misservice to her, it would be a misservice to the children and to the staff, because I have no longer the right that I had as a board member to be able to contribute at the level that a board member can. I'm not privileged to the conversations or the plans that they might have done in closed session, and in areas where I'd be more of a hindrance than a help. That's why I stay completely away. Now the election came up, and I decided I'm going to try it again and see if I can volunteer my services and be able to move forward with the children and the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Are there any other questions for Mr. Perez in the back of the room? Come on up forward and use the microphone, please, because do remember this is being live streamed and people at home want to hear the question.
Hello, my name is Elsa Ramon. I'm a student at Los Sierra High School.
I gotta move a little closer.
You said in your opening that you believe that leadership isn't.
Say that again?
You believe that leadership is lacking. How are you going to change that?
Leadership lacking?
Yes, you said that in your opening.
Well, it has a lot to do with personality. It has also to do with knowledge and readiness to be able to participate with both the listening and the talking. One of the major components in on the leadership, thank you, is listening. It's too easy to talk. I do a lot of times, talk, and get nowhere. When you're listening, you're contributing to the other person's ideas to come forth and be able to then share and come together in plans that will benefit the whole system rather than one particular person. I get frustrated when I see this sign come out here. But anyway, so that's the reason why I want to participate. And I stay away from it because I figure other people have the right to do their thing on their own way, their own manner. Mine is not the only way that I think is right. Many people do things differently, but they're just as good as my ideas might be.
Mr. Perez, that was your time for that question. Because, no, you still have another one. But we know Mr. Perez does not like flags waved at him. But we will just, you do not like the flags waved at you. We will hold it up, and when we hit red, you don't even have to watch Barbara. She'll ring the bell, and then you don't have to look. But do we have another question for Mr. Perez? Oh, fabulous. From one of our La Sierra High School students. Come on and stand up.
Okay.
And speak closely and loud.
Okay, so my name is Kiera, and I go to La Sierra High School too. And you did make the comment about how leadership is lacking, and you said that how leadership is lacking, and you said that you feel that you don't hear that the people who are our trustees right now aren't they're not listening and they're not talking back to us. But I have noticed that a lot of them, like throughout me going here, I've only been here since 6th grade, and I'm in 10th grade now, and I've noticed that like a lot of the trustees are there, and I can feel like they're listening to me. Like Robert Schwant has been there a lot for me, so has Julia Moreno, Art Casperine, like they've all like been very personable. So I feel like why do you feel like how can you say that they're like not listening and you feel like they're not like talking back to like the people? You know? Yeah.
We the people Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys being here, and thank you for bringing them over or inviting them. It is good to see you. It is good to participate. You are the future leaders. And so listen to what I tell you, and you will learn more. No, very seriously. It is very important that the students participate and get involved in their own administration of their programs, because they are the living proof that we're doing or not doing a good job. And so I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Now, that brings us to your closing statement. You have 1 minute for that, please.
I'm very happy to be able to have the opportunity once again to ask for your vote. It is important that you ask questions of your neighbors about me. Some of them may know me, some of them won't even know who I am. That's okay. But it is important to know who you're voting for. It is important to know what has happened, what plans are coming, and look at the future and see who of the candidates will give your students a better opportunity and the staff a better opportunity for more growth. And then, and you have a lot to do. And then you have the right answer to how you will react to the different people that come before you, like me, and decide whether I may be a good candidate or I may not. I hope you think I will be, and so here I am for you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Our time is going really well. This is about where we were supposed to be for this evening. We have one candidate left, and that is for Area 4, Robert Schwan. So, Robert. And again, it has to be close, it has to be loud. 2 minutes for your introduction.
2 minutes for introduction, and I'll get to your Taj Mahal question at the end of it. How's that?
Fabulous.
Okay, so I'm Robert Schwan. Why am I, well, background first. I'm a product of the Alvord Unified School District. I went through Lynn Elementary, Arizona Middle School, La Sierra High School. My wife went to Arizona, she went to La Sierra. We actually met there. And today is our 36th anniversary. I'm here. Still Bible study tonight, so it's okay. Our 4 children all went through the Alvord District. All of them ended up going to college, fortunately for us. We put a premium on education in our family, and that's what I wanted to bring to the board too. It's the students who are going to be the future of our world. And I want to do my part to make it better the best I can. A question that came up earlier about the Taj Mahal. I wasn't on the board when that was passed and the lease was signed. That was, as Julie mentioned, came in right as we came in afterwards. The renegotiation was part of what we did. It was a 25-year lease agreement. We brought it down to 15 years with an option to buy it 10 years. We don't know what's going to happen, but we are looking at a change there. So that did save the district $15 million over that 10 years. Now the question came up also about what was the penalty. If we would have gotten out of that lease without going over there at all, it would have been $8 million for nothing. And we couldn't see that at the time. So that's the road we went, was to go into that building. And yes, we are looking at locations within our own, closer into our district in La Sierra and over at Keller, what we're trying to do. So want to make sure we got that clarified. Something else that we've done while we've been there is we have increased the graduation rates within our district over the last 4 years. We have decreased the absenteeism rate in the district over the last 4 years. So there's opportunities that we have in programs that we're working that I'll answer any question that comes up. Does anybody have a question?
Oh, thank you for doing that for me.
These 2 people, I guess.
I know that one of you students must have a question, don't you? You think about it, because I'm coming back to you. And did we have a question on this side? Now, you see Judy standing there. She's not standing there to ask a question. She's getting ready to help with the raffles. I see someone in the back, though.
Last week I was here and I
Just a moment, please, sir. This is being videotaped, and the people at home are watching it live.
That's fine. Last week I was here. I offered to donate several hundred Hot Wheels to the grammar school over there on Golden. And I called the school because I didn't want to approach the school and have half of the police department surround me. So I called the school and the first lady I talked to, she goes, well, we don't give toys to the kids to play at school. I says, I'm not giving them toys to play in school. You give it to them so they can take home. So I said, I'd like to talk to the principal. So he was in a meeting, he called me back, we talked. I told him what I wanted. He started asking me questions, whether they were new in a package, blah, 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 whatever. I told him they're brand new, they've never been used, they're not in a package. I want to donate them to the school. Now we're talking about several $100s worth of Hot Wheels that I'm an avid collector.
And what is the question?
How do I donate these Hot Wheels?
Which one? Can you answer Hot Wheels?
Yeah, we have a 10-page pamphlet that you can fill out. Just kidding.
Yeah, he told me he had to ask the board.
I'll talk with you after the meeting, get your information, and we'll follow up with you for sure.
And thank you, though, for offering to donate that, because they really are treasures.
Yeah, by the way, there was a lady here that wanted some for her son. I brought like 30 of them. I don't know who it is.
One of our Western high school students has a question.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer it or not. But we've been seeing like a specialization kind of in our high schools, in the 3 high schools that we have, Novi, La Sierra, and Hillcrest, and each one is kind of known for like different things, of course. Like at La Sierra, we have our Business Academy, Health Academy. At Novi, they have like Future Farmers America, things like that. And then at Hillcrest, they have a lot of robotics programming. Like it's a STEM school. And I was just wondering, how can we make all 3 schools available to all students within Alvord for whatever career path they want to go to? Because I know right now, like a lot of people want to pursue STEM careers because that's something that's up and coming in the future, but people can't get into Hillcrest because obviously it's by like who lives around there. But is there a way that you're looking into opening up certain schools for students, for other students in the future?
Excellent question from a future leader of America.
So the short answer, yes, we are looking at that. I think from a school district standpoint, there's so many different, I think Julie used the word CTE, which is career technical education. So it's different areas that you can specialize in. To try to do all those at all schools is very difficult. So you have certain schools that are choosing to go to different directions. So you mentioned the Business Academy and the Health Academy, the Entertainment Academy that we have at La Sierra. In Norte Vista, you have the International Baccalaureate Program, Green Construction Academy, and we also have an auto shop that's going on over there. In fact, in our district, in California, there is 2 middle schools that have wood shop. We have it in our district, Wells Middle School. So that's another one. And we also touched on Hillcrest. Hillcrest is in computer science robotics. So what we have to do is make it available to our students where they can go to get to those and not have to be at their own school.
Thank you. And now we're going to take our last question from Tinka. Close and last, please.
Yes, I'm a retired special ed teacher, 38 years. And my question is, well, from both the 2 incumbents, from you and the other woman, you both, I understand you were not on the school board when the decision was made about the Taj Mahal, and I completely understand that. And but when you came on, I feel like you guys have skirted that. When you came on, obviously you become privy to what the decision was and all of that. Could you please share with us why the board at that time made the decision to move it?
Yes, at the time, the board was looking at the spreading out of the district office personnel. They were spread out the district, and they wanted to bring them all together in one location to try to get some efficiencies in the operation of the district. And to get a large enough place, there wasn't one located locally. So they went to the location that was closest, that was still in our district, and it was over there off of Sampson Street. So that's why they did it, to try to get efficiencies within the district headquarters, and that was the closest place to go to. We weren't part of it, so. Anything else?
Okay, you get 1 minute of closing, and then let me ask you all to help. We've actually gone overtime now. If you are staying for the raffle, please do, because we're getting the tickets pooled right now. Remember to clear everything up. Don't linger in this room to talk, because we will lose our privilege to be here. They've already cautioned me, not tonight, but on other occasions where we've gone over, they said, if I want the room, we've got to be out on time. We can make it happen tonight with your help. So when we're through, we do the raffle, help with the tables back, clean up, go outside and talk with the candidates, because there are many staying to talk with you. 1 minute, Mr. Schwann.
Okay, 1 minute. This goes to why do I think I'm the best candidate for this position? I didn't get to that. So I've been through the district. My wife has been through the district. Our children have been through the district. We have 4 grandchildren that are going to be going through the district. So I'm committed. I'm passionate about the students in our district, and I want to make it the best district we can. Secondly, my educational